excited about what we can do. You see, I view this campaign as a giant job interview. I'm here telling you what I want to achieve, asking for your vote, and asking you also to hold me accountable. I want you not just to vote for me in November, but help me be the best president I can be for all Americans.
98 days and counting. The day when Americans are allowed to gather in their respective places and cast their vote for President of the United States. Of course, it's not nearly as dramatic as it once was because absentee ballots will begin flying into government counting hands much earlier than that, canceling out anything that happens between the instant those ballots are mailed and the election. For those who cannot or will not wait to get every sliver of information until that final moment, that final job interview piece. There are, of course, plenty of things to discuss between now and then that should be forefront in the thinking of every voter, such as the economy. You remember the American economy, don't you? The one where U.S. stocks appear to have the stability of a career drunk after an all-night bender, and the growth of this economy is moving at a pace that would make snails appear to be competing for a spot on the starting grid for next year's Indy 500. Time for you and us to buckle up on the phone lines, because we have only a few spots remaining for comments and questions on this topic. 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. For that and more, we move with great haste in welcoming back the syndicated columnist, keen political observer, University of Maryland professor of business, Peter Morici. Peter, good to see you again. And let's get right down to the economy here. Okay, Hillary Clinton says this is a giant job interview and hold me accountable. We could do about an hour and a half on that one just there, but let's go ahead and stick to money, if we will. We've got what some people are calling a very lackluster GDP report. Rate hikes are still in question. There's some people saying, wait a minute, it's not that bad because consumer household spending is up by 4.2% in the second quarter of 2016. All right, wait a minute. Let's start there. Make some sense of all of this for us, will you please? Is it as bad as some people say?
No, it's not quite as bad as some people say, but it's pretty darn bad. I mean, the Obama economy, you can't judge Hillary on the last quarter or the Obama economy on the last quarter or even the last half. This recovery has averaged 2%, 2.1% growth. That's much less than Clinton and even much, much less than Reagan, who averaged 4.5% growth. Now, it is true they've created a job every month for umpteen months, the longest streak running. But the pace of jobs creation has been half of that as Reagan. In a smaller economy, Reagan created twice as many jobs. Household incomes were rising. Obama, household incomes are falling. And you know who they fall for most precipitously? African Americans. Thanks to all of his social policies, he's made them sort of a kind of a test case of what he can do to level the playing field. Now Hillary wants us to judge them on the record. The basic advantage that they have is that George W. Bush was, let's face it, no church supper door prize. And his financial crisis is the contrast they draw, and so it gives them an edge. But in reality, it's a terrible recovery, and it's almost as bad as their foreign policy. You know, ISIS in Iraq and Syria, Benghazi, the Russians in the Crimea, and so on and so forth. She's got a great record to judge her on.
Is it just possible, and again, playing devil's advocate, is it just possible that when we talk about the Bush financial crisis, where we are now, and this recovery, and the growth of this nation's economy at this moment, that it simply could not grow any faster with what it has been left in the past and what it's dealing with right now before any other changes are made?
That's not true. I mean, Mr. Obama has ladled on huge amounts of regulation, which cost money to implement, and essentially make it more difficult to invest. So investment is very low. New business startups are very low. Home ownership is at a 50-year low. You try to build new apartment space in New York City. It's easier to put up a skyscraper on Mars. I mean, you only have to take a space shuttle there for 10 years. It's just ridiculous. All this stuff has just made it more difficult to grow. But you know, the pimps are out in strong force. Mark Zandi, who supported McCain and then supported everything Obama did afterwards to get back in the good graces of the liberal economists that teach in the Ivy League, has said, you know, the economy would prosper with Clinton. You mean a $1 trillion tax increase would cause it to prosper? Heck, I have a very expensive education in economics, awfully expensive and time-consuming, and they never taught us that raising taxes was a growth stimulant.
Let's talk then about Moody's analysis, because it came out this last week and a half or so, and they've looked at both of the candidates at this point. And again, I trust your opinion, as do so many others, so I wanted to get your take on this. Their analysis is that a Donald Trump presidency would, quote unquote, significantly hurt the economy. They say less trade and less immigration. That means less foreign direct investment in the country. Counter that, if you will.
Well, we certainly have enough people in the country to do all the work that needs to be done already. We have 7 million men between the ages of 25 and 54 who are both jobless and not even looking for work because Mr. Obama's got them on the dole. If you pick and choose the policies that you want to from Mr. Trump and come up with a draconian scenario, and you pick and choose what Hillary Clinton is most likely to be able to get done, it don't look so bad for Hillary. After all, she's going to have a big infrastructure project her first 90 days, and she's going to have an immigration bill. There's no doubt that more immigrants gives you more growth, but it lowers per capita income of the people that are already here because it increases competition for jobs. The last I heard, Hillary Clinton is running for president of the 50 states and District of Columbia, not the Republic of Mexico. So if you want a jobs program for Mexico, elect Hillary Clinton.
That's
what Sandy's about.
No, let's
Sandy's
not do that.
Fraud.
Let's put some people right here when it comes to the United States. Let's put them to work here. So then,
right. And if you basically want to import, 10 billion, Chinese immigrants, you're going to have more GDP. But is the average guy going to be better off? I think not.
Let's ask about these two words that I hear all the time: rubber stamp. Because there is that absolute thinking process that...
Just did that, Zandy.
Okay. That if Hillary Clinton becomes president, then all she will do is just rubber stamp the Barack Obama policies, economic, foreign policy, everything, and we will be stuck with them for another 4, maybe another 8 years. However, the other side is, why would she do that when they've been so bad in the first place? Wouldn't she come up with something fresh, at least, that might give her a better trail to follow instead of just following his disaster?
Well, the history of the Clintons is they're not that smart. They were against NAFTA before the election the last time, and then they pushed it through. Hillary has shown us she's for TPP for real because on her watch as Secretary of State, we implemented the trial run, the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement that was supposed to create tens and 20 and 30 thousands of jobs. Instead, it's increased the trade deficit dramatically and cost Americans 135,000 jobs in 4 years. What that tells me is that Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, where economics was not even her portfolio, is one of the most efficient jobs destroyer on the planet. She wants to implement, for example, the California Fair Pay Act, which requires businesses of all sizes, even 5 employees, even Newsmax, to justify all their wage and salary decisions. It's Goss plan all over again. If you think that kind of central planning is going to make America work, in addition, she wants to, tax businesses that don't make wise investments according to her union standard, okay? According to her union standard, then if you think that's good economic policy, well, all I can say is, why did Bolivia, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, East Germany, and the Soviet Union, most of all, end in failure? If you want to relive the Cold War, but do it from the wrong side, elect Hillary Clinton.
Let's get a couple of quick comments in here. Mark is in Minnesota. Mark, give me 20 seconds on why you think Donald Trump will be better for the economy than Hillary Clinton.
Well, for one thing, he's a self-made billionaire who's done nothing but create jobs. Sure, he has businesses that have failed, but if you don't try, you can't succeed, and you can't fail. He is very smart when it comes to running businesses. And what jobs has she ever created in her entire life?
Let's go from there, Peter, because we hear that. I only got about 30 seconds left. But again, we're back to this point. Shouldn't Donald Trump, instead of talking about things that just don't make any difference at this point, focus in on that? That's what we hear from so many people, that he created jobs. That's what he needs to focus on, the message getting out there. 30 seconds.
He needs to stand right up in one of his hotels and introduce the people, the Hispanics included, for whom he's created jobs. You don't spend the last week and weekends doing things like taking on five-star, gold star mothers. You just don't do that, and that's what he's done. And it's very unfortunate, but he is easily distracted when it comes to campaigning. He's a much more focused businessman, and unfortunately, he's out of his element in a real campaign. You know, competing against Jeb Bush, that's kind of like boxing a 10-year-old.
And the numbers are coming in right now in some polls.
He's got no imagination. I mean, he reminds me of, he's the Barney Fife of the Bush family.
I am going to stop right there because I can't think of a better place to end it on the words Barney Fife. Peter Morici, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. All right, he is one very confident Democrat, and that has some Republicans more than a little concerned, but others say he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's coming up next right here on The Hard Line.